can't wait for the weekend either. That was Rhonda McDaniel right here with us this morning singing about can't wait for the weekend. And what do you think, Penny? I don't want to look at the camera today. I don't feel pretty. What? I don't feel pretty. You forgot to put a dress or something on me. Oh, I'm sorry, Penny. I thought you'd like to go au naturel today. Well, I do, but not in front of the camera. All right, well, here we are. Anyways, as usual, I messed up. I can't seem to do anything right for Penny. Some days she does want to put on her little clothes. Some days she doesn't. I didn't even ask her this morning. I just went with it. Anyways, good morning, good morning, good morning. I'm Ann Eller right here with the star of the show, Princess Penny. Princess Penny, that's right. So, that's a deep subject. We've had a great week this week. We really have. We've had some good interviews. We've had some good things happen in our community. Looks like we might be moving forward on a budget answer. Not done yet, folks. But anyways, we'll be talking about all that and more in just a minute. I just wanted to cue you in. We've got a World Guinness record to announce here today, too. So let's start out with the weather. What else could be better than to know what the weather? I just made that up. Not bad, Ann. Not bad. Because you know whether the weather be fine or whether the weather be not. Whether the weather be cold or whether the weather be hot. We'll weather the weather, whatever the weather, whether we like it or not. Excuse me. I like this little phrase. It was a phrase that a friend of mine's dad used to say every morning to them as they were bustling about and trying to decide what they were going to do for the day. So I really like it. Right now, though, it is 80 degrees out there. It feels like 86. We are looking for a high of 89. So even with the feels like it's going to be less than 100 degrees. Isn't that great? Woo! That is awesome. All right, so what have we got as far as the rest of the day? Looks like mostly sunny skies this morning will give way to mostly cloudy skies during the afternoon, and there is maybe a slight chance of a shower, but not very much option on that. Friday comes in with a high of 81, low of 71, and we are looking for showers early, then scattered thunderstorms developing later in the day. Winds light and variable, chance of rain 50%, locally heavy rainfall possible. Saturday, looking forward to the weekend, looks like a high of 84, low of 71, a 20% chance of rain, mostly cloudy skies, humid. Oh, I'm tired of the humidity. Winds 5 to 10 miles an hour, so that's what Saturday is. And Sunday looks like partly cloudy, a stray shower or thunderstorm is possible, high of 91, and again about a 20% chance of rain. Going into Monday, high of 93, low of 73, and no real chance of any rain. Looks like our forecast has really changed up, because I remember yesterday, wasn't it, that we were looking at quite a bit of rain going into the weekend. So that has changed up. You know, it's really interesting. The sun rises at 6:35 in the morning, sets at 8:34. And of course, just think, if the deliberative body of the Senate of the U.S. government decides to act on the making daylight savings time permanent, we could have this kind of weather year-round. Of course, it changes a little bit because the sun and the axis and all this stuff, we may not be as light at 8:30 at night, but at least we would have more light at night. So I hope this goes through. I'm surprised there's a lot more people divided on this than I would have thought. To me, daylight savings time is just the best. Best because when I get off work, well, when do you get off work, Ann? Well, when I do get off work, I like to be able to be outside and not be looking at dark clouds and dark skies out there. Anyways, let's move on here this morning. So, we have decent weather going into the weekend. Maybe the showers and whatnot will keep us cooled down a little bit. We have a moratorium that is in effect for Greenwood County, and that happened Tuesday night at the Greenwood County meeting, so that's a good thing. Whew, I think I need a little sip of tea. So we've got that in effect. Kids are back in school. I don't know if you noticed any difference yesterday on your trip to work, but remember to slow down. Make sure you are, if you're going through a school area, that you slow down and be aware of any traffic officers directing traffic, all this kind of stuff, because it is the time of the year where everybody's getting used to new schedules and getting back on routines. You know, that is the other thing that school does, doesn't it? It creates routines. In summer, you can be a little more flexible, this type of thing. But when you get school back in session, everybody is on a schedule. Boom, 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 boom. So, we've got a lot to cover this morning, from Greenwood to Columbia to Charleston, and maybe even a little Hollywood tip just for fun. And Penny has said that she would like to have a section. This dog is just unbelievable. Just unbelievable. She said she would like to be able to do her own news story every day, so I need to take the time with her and help her find some good stories. So I've agreed that we will have a section every day, maybe not today, just depends if we get to it, about going to the dogs. That's the original name right now. Of course, if you've got a better name for Princess Penny's Going to the Dog series, love to know about it. All right, moving on here this morning. Let's see, we've mentioned the moratorium. Now, actually, I do want to mention, the real work should begin on the moratorium as to how we are going to get the information that everybody wanted to have before we make any decisions. So there you go. That's the organization will have to be structured, how we're going to work, panels, committees, how we're going to work on getting all this information. I will say Greenwood County should be very proud of itself for having that moratorium in place, but for being a leader in getting a moratorium in place before a data center was able to get in here and get on the books. So I really think that is terrific from that standpoint. So that was one. Last night there was a strategic county meeting from 5:30 to 7:30. Unfortunately, with me doing what I'm doing, I didn't get to go, but I'm looking forward to hearing what they talked about. This is, I believe, supposed to be the only county-wide constituent putting input in. So this was an important meeting, and I hope we had people at it. And I hope if you have some information about it that you will share that with me so that I can share it with the folks. So that was another thing. So we've talked about the moratorium. We talked about stuff going on in Greenwood. Now, moving on, folks. We're going to now cover... What do you think? Does it sound like a real news show here this morning? Boop, boop. All right. We're live on Facebook this morning at WCRS Radio, as we are every day. We also are, of course, on the radio right now. I believe I'm on the radio. WCRS 98.5, 1450 AM. And streaming to the space station and beyond. That's right. You know, they always talk about how long sound it takes to travel and everything. I just was thinking, this just popped into my brain. Wouldn't it be interesting? Someday, years and years from now, long after I'm gone, a broadcast from the I Love Ann show reaches outer space, and space aliens are listening to this broadcast, and they're going, what the heck is this woman talking about? Greenwood? Where's Greenwood? Yeah, okay. Anywho. Can you just imagine it? Hey, good morning, Greenwood. And then you might hear something like, oh, where is it? Hold on here. Here we go. Yes, right here. And then you might hear, oh no, that's not the one I wanted. Where is it? Come on. Oh yeah. And then you might hear, never give up, never surrender. Never give up, never surrender. Never give up, never surrender. There you go. And you might hear something like that. Or maybe you hear this. Or perhaps this one. I'm little but I'm loud, dangerous, proud. I don't really care if people stop and stare. Little but I'm loud. Right. Just think if they were in outer space, just think what they might hear coming right here from Greenwood, South Carolina. And then, of course, they'd have to hear the voice of Greenwood. And there you go. So who knows? Beyond the space and the space station, beyond the outer reaches of our universe, who knows who will be hearing this broadcast eons and eons from now? Well, that was a little different, Ann. Yeah, it was. Anyways, let's move on and talk about more mundane topics. More mundane topics. Well, they say, well. That's a deep subject. They have said that they believe they have reached a budget deal. Have they? Haven't voted on it yet, but they seem to think that they have. The agreement approved on Wednesday evening by a panel of House and Senate negotiators is likely to clock in at more than $42 billion. Although the final size is not known, at a minimum, lawmakers are spending at least $3 billion more than the previous year's budget on the Palmetto State's results-challenged government. There you go. It also includes, I don't know how you feel about this, but I have a little bit of a problem with it, but I'm just going to put it out there. That's my job. The plan also includes a controversial $150 million corporate welfare handout for Scout Motors that was tucked into 3 separate sections of the spending plan. We will allocate the money, a legislative source confirmed. We are, quote, legally obligated to do so. Scout has already received more than $1.3 billion from South Carolina taxpayers. That marks a major defeat for taxpayers. You know, I think this has been a somebody just told me I needed to double up on my meds. Why? Just because I'm talking about outer space? Come on, Ann, stay focused this morning. Okay. All right. I don't know how I feel about this. What I do feel about it is for months. This came up in January. I'm pretty sure it was January, early February, about the problem with Scout Motors and the grading and all this stuff that had to be done on the property, and it was whose responsibility is it? South Carolina Scout, et cetera, et cetera. It was a boondoggle. This is one of the things that I have a problem with any government, is that this was a hot topic. Everybody knew it. It was exposed, and then boom, it just disappears. And here we are coming up while we're finally getting ready to do the budget here. They have to show their hand on what's in the budget, and boom, pops up just like a cork on a fishing reel. Scout Motors is going to get $150 million, and they're saying, well, we were obligated to do it. The deal that was done with Scout Motors, I hope, eventually pays off. But on the front end, South Carolina has really worked hard to have to prepare for Scout Motors to come. They also are way behind because of the grading and preparation of the land and some of the problems that they had. They are way behind schedule. On top of that, probably the biggest snuff to South Carolina is that we did all this work to get Scout Motors ready, to give them good deals, incentives, etc., to come here, and then they go across the state line and open their corporate offices in North Carolina, in Charlotte, I believe. That seems to be a sticking point too. Nevertheless, they will be getting $150 million if this deal goes through to get them up to speed and keep them moving. I think it is interesting to note also, Scout Motors didn't ask, if I'm remembering correctly, Scout Motors did not ask for this money. It was just brought up as a problem. But Scout Motors has already received $1.3 billion from South Carolina taxpayers. That marks a major defeat for taxpayers, many of whom are struggling to make ends meet, while so-called, quote, and this is an opinion, this is from Fitz News, conservative lawmakers blow virtually every penny of new money that comes into their coffers on dubious economic deals. Now, that is from Fitz News. That is not from me. That is not an official statement. That is from Fitz News. And you know, Fitz News can be a little harsh on those type of things. But anyways, is it a problem? I think, yes, it is. We have a huge budget. We have a big budget. We have a huge amount of income coming in. And where is the relief for South Carolina taxpayers? I think that is a question. Another defeat. The final deal includes only $82 million in property tax relief for South Carolina senior citizens, well below the $250 million originally proposed by South Carolina Senate leaders. Also, the property tax proposal does nothing to prevent local governments from simply raising taxes to offset the so-called relief, which is a topic for another day. It says, as far as the pork barrel appropriations that bogged down the final days of debate, negotiators decided to punt on those, at least temporarily. According to Bannister, those spending items will be rolled into a single standalone piece of legislation after a yet-to-be-appointed ad hoc committee conducts a prioritization of the projects. So all those projects are just being set aside from the budget, and then they will go back and deal with those separately. Talk about having problems with doing a budget, folks. That's what I have to say about that. You know, usually you're supposed to have the budget ready for June 1st. Is that right? June 1st? We're almost to the end of July. Government is still running just fine. But now, of course, this budget had included a $50,000 minimum for teachers and some other things that we're looking forward to. And now that some of this, now I don't know where the teacher's pay is on this, whether the teacher's pay is included or is it set aside too. I do not know the answer to that. So, is our media outlets consistently encourage state senators not to cave on the House demands for more state spending and to hold the line and keep appropriations at their current levels. That would have freed up billions of dollars now destined for the black hole of bureaucracy for potentially transformative tax relief instead. It is interesting that both the House and the Senate, and this is just an aside on my part, have a super Republican majority. Usually considered, Republicans usually are supposed to be fiscally conservative body, and yet, we look at spending. Every time there is money, they want to spend the money. I wish that they would certainly, I don't think they made much strides on tax cut for the state. We certainly haven't moved the needle on getting rid of income tax, showing good faith that you were doing it. We haven't seen any of that yet, and I think that is a shame. However, administrations are going to change, so comes January, we will have a new governor, and then we'll be able to start the needle all over again. There you go. All right, so that's just a little bit about the budget. It looks like we are going to get a budget deal. Looks like they are going to spend about $3 billion more while you and I try to figure out how to pay for gas. That's, if it's not at $4 today, I haven't been out. Last night it was what, $3.85, $3.88. If it's not that, it's something else out there. Of course, the price of gas has gone up because of the amping up of the war over there in Iran. I think one thing people should see is that when we had a ceasefire, prices of gas, oil came down very fast, very fast. So if they would ever make up their minds on how to finish up on this conflict, war, we certainly could move the needle forward there. I think every day that it goes on is just another day where we see more rising of prices, etc., and more angst. So they really need to get this finished, President Trump. All right, let's move on and talk about some other topics here. Oh, by the way, coming up this afternoon, since we're talking politics, we do have Daniel Gibson will be joining us. He is representative for the South Carolina House. I guess we've set up the things where I can try to question him this afternoon, right? So we'll be talking with him this afternoon, a whole bunch of issues, bills that passed, bills that didn't. And, of course we're going to hear, well, we sent it to the Senate. I've decided that what they do, they get something out of their house, out of their wheelhouse, and they move it to the other body, and the other body does the same thing. We really need to have some type of time limit to take up a bill that is gone from now this is just my idea, goes from the House to the Senate or the Senate to the House or the Senate, whoever it's being sent to has to put forth, yes, we'll take this one up. No, we're not going to take it up, and boot it back or something, so that we can really see what happens. Because so many times, so many of these things, you think you're going to see action on something and then it dies. And when you ask about it, oh, we did our part. We sent it to the House. Oh, we did our part. We sent it to the Senate. If they had a 2-week or 3-week period to decide whether they would take this bill up or not, then you would know really where the responsibility lays. There's the problem. Hey, I'm Ann Eller. This is WCRS Radio. So, this afternoon, as I said, we will have Daniel Gibson. If you got any questions or comments for Daniel, of course, during the show you can put it out, but it always makes it real easy for me if you put it out in advance. So think about doing that for me, and we'll have a good discussion with Daniel Gibson this afternoon right here on WCRS. He is up for re-election, but this discussion is going to be basically about passes and fails and what we could anticipate next year as we move forward with a new governor and see where we're going, see what they're thinking, the House is thinking about, what particularly Daniel's thinking about for bills to introduce and things that need to be resolved. So I hope you'll tune in at 5 o'clock this afternoon. By the way, just to bring up a great interview we did yesterday afternoon with Ron Adderholt, and Ken Coffey was here with us with the Self Foundation. That's right, it's 10 o'clock in the great city of Greenwood, South Carolina. We talked about a veteran who has made actually a great success of his life. It's a story about his life, how he went into the military early. I mean, I think when he got out of high school, came out, he was 21, 22, didn't go to college till he was in his 40s, had excruciating back pain that eventually debilitated him so much that he had to seek out help. He went to Self Regional, ended up with Dr. Law over there. Dr. Law I'm giving you the shortened version. Dr. Law has been able to help him, but told him he needed to lose 80 pounds before they could do anything. His idea of going to a workout on a treadmill or something like that just did not fit his style. But one weekend, one period of time, he was doing some canning, which he grew up doing. He found that he lost 5 pounds. He goes, this might be the answer. So he became I'm going to say a canning fool. Over 6,000 canned items he has canned in the last year. And so he wanted to do something good with those things that he canned. And what has he done with them? He's given them to veterans. And there's several different projects. If you were at the Veterans Appreciation event, you may have seen all the jars. You may have picked up a couple of those jars to take home and give them a try. And those are all from Ron Vanderford. And so it was a great conversation yesterday afternoon. Hope you'll check that one out and get some more information about our veterans. He's been instrumental. He was in Washington, D.C. as an intern, started a program up there, a bedroll program. I mean, just somebody who looks at the issues and says, how can we make this better? Looked at the issue, he needed to lose weight, and how can I do this? And found that canning was a good way to keep him moving in the kitchen and making something that veterans could use. I love the line in the show where I asked him, what does this mean to veterans? He goes, Ann, what it seems to me, to most of the people that he talks to, it's a taste of home. It was a taste of growing up. And so that brought back a lot of good memories for a lot of people. I love that. Hey, I'm Ann Eller. This is WCRS Radio. We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to be right back, so don't you go away. Let's do the American Revolutionary Minute. I hope you're liking this series. There really is a lot of good little nuggets of information. So let's take it away right now. An American 250 Revolutionary Moment. As America celebrates its 250th birthday, let's meet 4 South Carolinians who helped change the course of history. They were Thomas Hayward Jr., Thomas Lynch Jr., Arthur Middleton, and Edward Rutledge. They were among the 56 men who signed the Declaration of Independence, pledging their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor for American liberty. But signing the Declaration wasn't simply adding their names to a document. It was an act of treason against the British Crown, a decision that could cost them everything. Yet, they stood with their fellow delegates and boldly declared that the American colonies were, and of right ought to be, free and independent states. The story begins on June 7, 1776, when Virginia delegate Richard Henry Lee introduced what became known as the Lee Resolution before the Second Continental Congress. It called for the colonies to break their allegiance to Great Britain and declare themselves independent. South Carolina was well represented. Haywood, Middleton, and Rutledge were already serving in Congress. They were joined by Thomas Lynch, Jr., who traveled to Philadelphia after his father, Thomas Lynch, Sr., suffered a stroke. Over the next several weeks, Thomas Jefferson drafted what would become the Declaration of Independence. Congress debated every word before approving the final text on July 4, 1776. Nearly a month later, on August 2nd, the delegates gathered in Philadelphia to sign the historic document. The sacrifices of South Carolina signers did not end there. Thomas Lynch, Jr. and his wife were lost at sea. During the British siege of Charleston in 1780, Haywood, Middleton, and Rutledge were captured and imprisoned in St. Augustine, Florida. They remained prisoners until they were exchanged in July of 1781. After the war, they returned home to help rebuild both South Carolina and the young nation they had risked everything to create. Rutledge later became governor of South Carolina. Their signatures on the Declaration were more than ink on parchment. They were promises of courage, sacrifice, and an unwavering belief that freedom was worth the cost. And 250 years later, the legacy of South Carolina's four signers continues to remind us that the birth of our nation was shaped by ordinary men who made extraordinary choices. This is WCRS Radio, sharing the voice of 1776, brought to you by WCRS Radio and the Issaquena Chapter, Daughters of the American Revolution. Did you know blizzards from DQ in Greenwood are miraculous? Thursday, July 30th. For everyone you purchased, a donation will be made to the Prisma Children's Hospital in Greenville through the Children's Miracle Network. Are you a business, church group, sports, and more? Would you like to treat your employees or group? Call your Greenwood DQ, 864-223-9234 to place your order. That's 864-223-9234. Get gift coupons to use at your convenience. It's DQ Blizzards Are Miraculous on Thursday, July 30th at your Greenwood DQ. Special events from 5 to 8 with bouncy house, face painting, balloon twisting, photo booth, and more. A dunk tank all day on Thursday, July 30th. Blizzards Are Miraculous. Every blizzard sold, a donation will be made to the Prisma Children's Hospital through the Children's Miracle Network. Be at DQ and be part of the miracle of giving.
DQ.
Hi, this is Brantley with Greenwood Chick-fil-A. Nominate your office, teachers, church group, or team for Breakfast for a Bunch with WCRS. We love surprising and delighting our Greenwood community. Call or text 864-332-9355. It would be our pleasure. Call or text 864-332-9355 for Breakfast for a Bunch with WCRS.
Okay. Well, we're right back here, and Penny goes, we need more people signing up for Breakfast for a Bunch. That's right, you have opportunity. Anybody can sign up and recommend any group, and yes, you can be part of that group, can't you, Penny? Yes, you can. So sign up today. Tomorrow, we're going to be giving away another Breakfast for a Bunch. And I mean a bunch. So sign up today, and you'll be glad you did. Got some new sign-ups coming in. Would love to include yours in the pot. 864-332-9355. All you gotta do is recommend a group, maybe give me a sentence or two why they would be great, and then give us your name so we can make sure to treat you too. So 864-332-9355. It's not too late. Tomorrow morning, another giveaway right here on WCRS Radio. All right, we've got more to talk about. Let's see, more to talk about. Where am I on this? Don't you want to see me? No, not really. We like watching Penny. I guess I'm just chopped liver. I guess I should go over here and see what else is going on. Oh, yeah. Stephanie's back with us this morning. That's great. She says, good morning, Ann. And good morning back to you, Stephanie. Hope you're still with us here this morning. Now, let's get started on what else did I want to talk about? Where is it? Shouldn't have done that, Ann. I know. Oh, what was I going to talk about? Oh, I know. I wanted to talk about the Senate race for the Senate, right? We've got this special primary. This is the week. Yeah, Penny's in the picture right now. If you're watching on Facebook Live, Penny's going, good morning, everybody. But we have this Senate seat vacated by Senator Lindsey Graham. Of note, his funeral is next week, the 28th and the 29th will be the dates, and we've discussed it. We'll probably discuss it another day, but not right now. But I did want to talk about his Senate seat is up for grabs and who is making sure that they are part of it. Of note, I think this is important. In order to run in this Senate race, it will cost that person $10,440. $10,440 filing fee to appear on the ballot. So that is, I think you've got to have some means to be able to do this. You got to have some means, so you've got to have money for a campaign. So we've had several people file. I'm not going to go through the list. We know I don't think anybody else has really jumped in, but there is something interesting that I wanted to share with you. Did you know, where is it? Did you know that you did not have to be a resident of South Carolina to run for that Senate seat? A Virginia native, Clark Nielsen, a land surveyor from Charlotte, North Carolina, has also submitted his paperwork to run for Graham's seat. He has a mapping company based in the Queen City that does business in that's in Charlotte, in North and South Carolina. For those of you wondering, there is I can't believe this, no residency requirement to run for U.S. Senator. Applicants for the job need only be 30 years of age and have been a U.S. citizen for 9 years. What do you think about that? We could have somebody from California coming over here and running for office. Now, of course, we the people do the selection and the actual voting. But don't you think that a person should have to be from the state that they are representing? Or does it really matter? Does it really matter because the people vote and the people most likely are going to vote from somebody that understands South Carolina? I think that's an interesting point, folks. I learned that last night reading this article. They have another candidate, Samuel Shepard, who hails from Houston, Texas, but lists Lexington, South Carolina as his hometown. And so he is another one that will be on the ballot. But do we know him? Is he part of South Carolina? Not really. So those are the things that are out there, and we'll see how this race develops. They have till the 28th, which is next Tuesday. Interesting to note, isn't it, that that is the day that they will have the funeral for Lindsey Graham in Washington, D.C. So there you go. There you go. So that's another one right there. All right. So we can check that box off. We've talked about that. We've talked about the budget this morning. If you missed any of this, of course, you can go back and listen to it at your leisure anytime, because this will be right there on Facebook, on our Facebook page, WCRS Radio. Find it there, and or probably by tomorrow it'll be on our website. And drum roll, please. Can you do the drums? No, okay. Drum roll, please. We do have it now. We do have all our podcasts from the show, I think really starting July 1st. We are putting some ones that are always good shows to go back and listen to, but starting July 1st. And it is on A Girl and Her Mic on Spotify and iTunes. So A Girl and Her Mic, find me right there. All my shows, if we do something live, any of these things will be listed right there. You can always go back there too. A lot of people are liking that because it's just the audio and you can listen to it. All right, as we're getting close to the end of the show here, I wanted to share a story that I thought was pretty cool. Corey Alston is a basket weaver, and he has just won the Guinness World Record for the largest sweetwater grass basket ever. He is a fifth-generation artist, Gullah. He's, of course, in the Gullah Geechee tradition, and that basket is at the South Carolina State Museum. Let's see if I can find the actual. That was, yes, there you go. Have I got it? Oh, I got some other good stories to share. Here you go. This one right here just broke the Guinness World Record. This thing is huge. Most of the time when you see sweetwater baskets, they're small. But he's created the largest sweetgrass basket in the world, and the State Museum announced July 22nd that Big Percy, a basket Alston handmade, is the new Guinness World Records title holder. The museum unveiled the basket in February after commissioning Alston to make it a year ago. The basket was officially measured by Cox and Dinkins Inc. as 43.3 inches wide and 52.6 inches tall. That is a huge basket, particularly for a sweetwater basket. That is like unbelievable. So being recognized for this world record achievement is bigger than a personal achievement for me, Percy Alston said. Big Percy represents generations of preservation and cultural continuance. From an art form of forced slave labor to now be recognized as one of the oldest handcrafted arts of the world, to be a world record holder is everything to me and the generations to come. He is a fifth-generation basket weaver who sells his work at the Charleston City Market. He's been doing this for over 20 years, and of course, this is a Gullah tradition, and of course, a South Carolina tradition. A lot of people, in fact, they had of note, they had a sweetwater basket at the world's largest state fair, Washington, D.C., celebrating the 4th of July this past year. They had one right there. Did you know that he has made many products for many establishments, including the Smithsonian Institution, the Duke Endowment, the Charleston Visitor Center? Last year, he was also asked to make a last-minute sweetgrass rice fanner, a fan, that was gifted to President Joe Biden on his last full day in office. So, but the State Museum has that on display, and that's pretty cool. So I wanted to share that with you, that is a Guinness World Record, 43.3 inches wide, and what was it, 52 inches tall, I think, 52.6 inches tall. So there you go, a story you may have missed in the news, but of course, Ann Eller finds these little nuggets and brings them to you so you have them for future discussion. All right, what else do we have? I don't know if I want to do that story or not. Does anybody remember Joan Collins, Falcon Crest? You know, she was the saucy, sexy siren, and always was just quite a looker. And she is now 93 years young. 93 years young. Hard to believe. Still looks great. And a lot of people would say, she's had Botox, she's done this, she's had, she has the money to be able to do it. Well, she says she hasn't. I don't know. If you see the pictures, you gotta kind of wonder. But she says having those lines and wrinkles in her face just makes her realize that time is passing. You can't stop it. I mean, something along that line. She was Joan Collins, famous for Dynasty, Falcon Crest. Those were huge primetime soaps. What happened to the soaps? I used to like those. Anyways, who remembers Dynasty, Dallas, Falcon Crest, Knots Landing? That was another one, although I never got into that one. But, all of those shows were must-see TV. The biggest thing to me, looking back on those shows, though, was the fact that you had to be at home to watch it when it was on TV. Because you couldn't go back and binge watch this. You had to see the episode. And if you missed an episode, you kind of had to wait till summer when they were doing the reruns if it was something critical and you had to make sure you watched it. Today, in today's world, when you come in the office on Monday morning, unless there's something news-shaking or some good local gossip going around, as there always is, but you don't have that connectivity to, did you see Friday night? Did you see Saturday night on TV? Because you can always go back and binge watch these things. I think the other thing that was neat about TV back in the day was you had to wait for the next episode. Whereas, as I said, you can go back and binge watch. Anyways, just a couple of my things that I actually miss about TV, about coming in that next morning and saying, did you see what she did? Did you see what JR did? That was always the question. All right, so as we finish up here today, make sure that if you're out there driving, that you are being safe out there, making sure there's plenty of room for school buses out there and kids getting off and not paying attention, and make sure you allow yourself a little extra time to get where you need to go. So, the Corey Alston story about the Big Percy, that's a Sweetwater Grass story. I think that was one of our good stories. We, of course, will be waiting to see what, if anything, happens on the budget. Don't forget to come this afternoon, sit down with us, and 5 to 6, where I'll have Daniel Gibson with us, and we will be talking with him about things that did pass. Frustrations, that's one of my favorite topics. Frustrations about what didn't get passed, what was kind of put in the trash. But I like the idea that the Senate or the House, whichever something goes to, they have a 2-week window where they say, yes, we're going to take that up, or no, so you don't hold your breath wondering if it's going to make it through the House or the Senate. And you don't have this, well, we sent it to the Senate, it's in their ball court, or we sent it to the House, it's in their ball court. So FYI, I just think that would be a good thing. As we move forward here, I did want to share with you some news that Penny has out there for her new series. Are you going to sit up and talk about this, Penny? Do you want to talk about it? They are having kitten yoga this Saturday at the Humane Society. And what else? Where is her story? All right. It's going to the dogs. Do you want to talk about another dog? No, I want to talk about myself. Okay, this is Princess Penny's story. It's her first story, so, she hasn't had a lot of opportunity to dig for maybe the very best story, but she thinks it's a heartwarming story, and she would like for you to enjoy it. So are you going to talk about it? Yes, I will. Okay. A 7-year-old Australian shepherd named Fig disappeared after being frightened by 4th of July fireworks. We talk about the fireworks all the time, don't we, Penny? She said her family searched for 10 days, posted flyers, drove miles, looking for her, never gave up hope. Then the Tulare County Sheriff's Office located Fig nearly 30 miles from home, and officers reunited her with her family. How about that? Penny, I like the story. And if nothing else, it goes to the fact that fireworks and dogs do not go together. That is so true. Fireworks and story and that do not go together. Are you saying it made you yawn too, Penny? All right, well, you're going to have to start digging more to find the stories that matter. Oh, my God, Penny, that was so funny. She yawned right at the end of the story like, oh, this is a bummer. Bust. Not really. It's a good story, but the question is, what do you think about that as a segment for Penny? She would like to be more part of the show. She'd like to have a segment on the show. So that's what we were kind of thinking about for Penny. Now, let's go back and see. Oh, we have got a couple of new entries for our Breakfast for a Bunch. So those will be added to the mix, and we will see who will win tomorrow morning right here on WCRS Radio. So that's another good one right there. What else have I got as I go to finish up here today? I know we have some events that are happening and going on. If somebody does have the intel on what happened at the strategic meeting, I'd really like to know what they discussed last night. This is a Greenwood County. It was, they say, the only one that they are going to have for Greenwood County as they get ready to do their strategic plan. So I would love to know what was said at that one. And if you have any info, if there was any issues that you would like to share, then please share it with me so we can share it with everybody, because I know that a lot of people were very interested in finding out about that. All right, we do have some, well, maybe we don't. We do have some events that I wanted to share with you, so let's go ahead and pull that up. Oh, what do we got? Today is, what? July 23rd. Yes. The Greenwood Flying Monkeys is having, on the 24th, is having a chamber night. If you are a chamber member, it says to check out your chamber news to see what the deal is, but that is coming up. Of note, the Greenwood Flying Monkeys came off a great weekend last weekend. I think they won all their games. They are really flying to the end of the season. All right. Then, as Penny mentioned, they're having Gentle Roots Yoga with the Humane Society. That is on Saturday from 11 to 12. Rock and Roll Cruisers, Saturday evening, uptown Greenwood by the fountain, 6 to 9 p.m. Always a great time. Great cars and lots of conversation. Great time to get out and do that. Then what else do we have? City Council meeting Monday evening. And Miracle Treat Day is next Thursday. Please put that on your calendar. That one is such a help to raising funds for the Miracle Network that does amazing work. The hospital that benefits from this is Prisma Hospital, Children's Hospital up there in Greenville. So there you go. And then lots of other things, but that's the highlights of ones I'm going to hit. Also want to tell you, we got to find out about the Vintage Vixen concert coming to the Uptown Market on August 1st at 7 p.m. I have to find out a little bit more about that because that one sounds pretty interesting. So other than that, I think I have talked about most everything here. Kids are back in school. Hard to get going, but it's a good thing to have a schedule, just like I do, every day with Penny, me, and you, and coffee, right here on WCRS, or, as I like to say, tea. You know, we do always get some comments right here at the end, and Stephanie says, I think it's a shame if they're not a resident of the state. They have no real vested interest. I think this is a point that I am surprised about too. But I think it is always comes back to the voters. And what are we talking about here at this last minute? Because I see Stephanie's comment on our Facebook Live. We're talking about, does a person does not have to be a resident of, for this example, South Carolina, to run to be a senator. I think that's messed up, folks. I'll just say it. But the voters make the choice, and if the voters say they want a South Carolinian, guess what? That person will not get the vote. But the very fact that they can be on the ballot is the thing that is very interesting. And the other thing is they have to spend $10,440 to get their name on the ballot. I'm sorry, I don't care how rich I am. I'm not going to put my money out there if I don't think I have a good opportunity to win, right? Well, anyways, that's my story and I'm sticking to it. Penny, should we say goodbye? Yes, please say goodbye because I'm hungry. All right, we're going to go have a cup of coffee and enjoy a little outdoors, and Penny's going to have her breakfast, and we'll be back at 5 this afternoon. So don't miss the show this afternoon. Remember, you can always go back and check these shows out on the website, WCRS1450am.net, and now on Spotify and iTunes under the moniker A Girl and Her Mic. How about that? Bye-bye, everybody. That, my friends, will do it for us. We will drop the curtain. We will cue the music. The music. Well, maybe we'll cue the music. Here we go. We will cue the music. Yes, we will. Fan can get it straight and say bye-bye. Take it away.